Now, one of the things that has been a hot button issue of late is the state of our water industry in the UK. In that it's been privatized for quite a while now. It's Our service is terrible. We have huge leaks in the water sector, like Thames Water. 25% of all the water gets leaked out, which is horrendous because for the private sector, they're not gonna. They're only driven by the profit motive rather than delivering a good service because it's all government contracted. But whatever. I digress. Either way, given the furore around this, it is an extra. It is an extra kick in the teeth that we are now seeing because of the issues with water shortages and droughts that we have at the moment, and in the wake of huge amounts of wastage because of poor infrastructure being managed by these private companies. Thames Water is going to start banning has a hosepipe ban starting next Wednesday. It's going to affect 15 million customers. The country's largest water firm will ban its 15 million customers in London and the Thames Valley from watering gardens or washing cars and ask them to conserve supplies. It hopes the restrictions that could be in place for weeks will save up to 10% of supplies and reduce the amount used per person from 150 litres to nearly 100 litres per day. The restrictions do not apply to businesses, but they are being urged to use water wisely and not wash vehicles. There are ban or rain in force until there is prolonged and significant rainfall. People found to be breaching the rules can result in fines of up to £1,000. Repeat offenders will be contacted by Thames Water and asked to change their behaviour. Cases rarely result in criminal prosecutions. It said reservoir storage levels in London and Farm, Oxfordshire had reduced significantly, were at levels not seen for about 30 years. Groundwater levels are heading towards levels normally only seen once per decade. But Lib Dem environment spokesperson Tim Farron, it's weird how the Lib Dems are suddenly being more based than the Labour Party. It's crazy. I can't believe it. It's really, as someone who absolutely despises the Liberal Democrats, for them to be, to the left of the Labour Party on any issue is just crazy to me. But that's a story for another time. It says the ban was a slap in the face for residents when Thames is losing a quarter of all the water it supplied to leaks. Their gross negligence to fix leaks is set to inflict hosepipe ban misery across the south. We wouldn't be in this mess if Thames Water bothered to invest properly. Instead, water companies are choosing to pay themselves billions of pounds in profits. True, it's almost like profits are bad at the expense of people getting a poor quality service because of ideological capture of the regulator, Ofwat, which, amusingly, the person who signed the Thames Water Licensed Operates Water Company was signed by Catherine Ross, who is now Director of Strategy and External Affairs, at Thames Water, of all things, right? Crazy. It's almost like all that money is just illicitly gained because they have industrial capture of huge sectors because of rosy deals that they have, cozy little deals they have with the government to be able to provide these things, and there's no competition because it's a natural monopoly with an inelastic market. You can't just stop drinking water, right? And now we have to penalise ourselves using hose pipes when they're paying huge amounts of money and wasting huge amounts of water is completely fucking preposterous. Implementing a temporary use ban for our customers has been a very difficult decision to make and one which we have not taken lightly. After months of below average rainfall, yada yada yada, whatever, I do not trust these people as far as I can throw them. Now, wouldn't it be funny as well if that something like Thames Water or other private water providers in the UK were also engaging in sewage pollution. Sewage polluting Britain's beaches as swimmers warned to stay out of water at 50 seaside hotspots, including Bognor Regis, Newquay and Yarmouth, all being affected. What is happening is that because people like Maria Caulfield MP here, who's writing in a response to Southern Water over sewage discharges, when she voted against legislation that would prevent water companies from dumping sewage into rivers. I shit you not, right? It's the same as all the P&O shit, when the government said this is preposterous, I can't believe P&O are hiring agency workers, who then changed the law to allow agency workers being hired to strike break. I absolutely shit you not. These people are the worst fucking hypocrites in the world. And I just, honestly, we're literally having actual human feces pumped into our rivers, pumped into our seas so much that we now can't swim in these areas. Because the water companies don't have to care. They have no real customer other than the government, right? And the government doesn't care as long as they get to palm things off to their mates in the private sector. So these people are raking in huge amounts of profit, paying their executives millions of pounds, right? Water executive bonus is up 21%. Average bonus for water company executives, £670,000 of our money that we pay for their services, right? Being paid out to pump literal human shit into our rivers. This is, honestly, you just could not believe it, right? The Environment Agency has issued pollution alerts across the country. One of North Devon's most popular beaches, Staunton Sands, was classified as unsafe to swim as due to pollution from sewage. Companies discharged raw sewage into rivers more than 400,000 times last year, according to EA figures. The EA allows water utilities to release sewage into rivers and streams after extreme weather events such as prolonged heavy rain to protect properties from flooding, to prevent effluent backing up into the streets and homes. But this week, the UK has been bone dry for more than a month, and a spokesman for SAS said that other pollution warnings in place may not be linked to heavy rain. She advises visiting the coast to check SAS website before they swim. Like, absolutely crazy. In a marine protected area as well. Thousands were swimming there yesterday. It's absolutely scandalous, right? Southern Water's statement was there were thunderstorms accompanied by heavy rain. Some releases were made to protect homes, apparently, even though we've had so much drought that we literally are having hosepipe bans because there's not enough water in reservoirs. And they're now saying, oh well, there was some rainwater thunderstorms, so we should be allowed to dump sewage into fucking rivers. I just cannot believe it. It's just absolutely nonsensical. This is the world that we live in, right? So not only are they paying themselves out in huge bonuses, not only are they paying huge shareholder dividends too, not only are they pumping literal shit into our rivers, they're now saying that we're not allowed to use our hose pipes whilst they are wasting huge amounts of water because they can't be bothered to properly invest in their infrastructure to take control of it. And then wouldn't you know, right, that the poor performance is linked to asset stripping from the private sector. The Southern Water, it could be in grounds for a major public inquiry, rather than being brushed under the carpet by a corporate takeover. A bank is set to take over the company called Macquarie, who has highly questionable track record. As owner of Thames Water, the people who we were mentioning previously were the ones issuing the hosepipe ban after 25% of the water is lost in leakages. They were owners of Thames Water from 2007 to 2017. It revolutionised the company's finances specifically to benefit shareholders who got a £535 million dividend despite profits being a third of that. It doesn't make any fucking sense. In fact, during the decade of Macquarie control, Thames Water paid out dividends of more than 2.5 billion over the same period. It's increased from about 3.6 billion to 10.2 billion by 2016. The company is also responsible for widespread and negligent sewerage leaks and a sharp increase in company pension deficit. When they sold their final stake in Thames Water, the company's finances were severely depleted. So what they've done is they've gone in, just stripped huge amounts of money out of it, destroyed the service, destroyed the livelihoods of the people who are working there, and then left with a huge payout for all of the shareholders and the owners and the people who had the stake in the first place. And they are allowed to do that because there's just no ability to compete because it's a natural monopoly. There's only 2 countries in the world with privatized water, and this is the UK and Chile. Not even Reagan was too neoliberal to privatize the waterways wholly in the United States, right? You literally, the only person who was more neoliberal on this issue was Augusto Pinochet. That's how far right you have to go to get a policy as stupid as private ownership of the water supply. It's just completely nonsensical. And because of the nature of the market, people like Macquarie are allowed to do that. They're allowed to just take huge amounts of money out of our money that we pay for this service, both in subsidy from the government and also what we pay for our extortionate water bills as it is. And now we have hosepipe bans and sewage in our rivers. It's just pathetic. It's almost like, right? You thought I couldn't mention him for a whole stream, but I'm mentioning him, and now it's almost like Corbyn was fucking right. It's absolutely right that these should be brought into public control. It would save the taxpayer money. It would save the end user money. It would create a better service. It would mean that we would be able to take control of the fact that literal sewage Actual human shit is being pumped into our rivers and beaches, right? Destroying our habitats, destroying marine protected environments, and making it and ruining the experiences of our holidaymakers, right? We'd also be saving ourselves from asset stripping corporate capitalist leeches, parasites, taking money out of these sectors as well that we have to pay extortion amounts of money for. And we would also be able to have proper control of the infrastructure to make sure that huge amounts of leaks didn't happen. But the regulator is completely captured, as we've seen previously, because they just sign away things to people who they can then get cushy jobs at later on. That's why they're in the regulator in the first place. That's why it's that we have regulatory capture, because they know that they can get lucrative consultancy roles or lucrative executive roles later down the line by giving them sweetheart deals by not regulating them properly. It's absolutely despicable. The regulator sets maximum prices water utilities can charge. These are fixed every 5 years in advance. Within this boundary, companies are free to make their own decisions on things like debt levels and dividend payments, which is how they're allowed to take new asset strip in the way that they do, because Ofwat will not properly regulate the kind of horrendous business practices they're engaging in. Regulatory transparency is lost in the density of the process. The latest price review in 2019 ran to hundreds of reports, some of which were thousands of pages long. While customer engagement is seen as an important part of regulation, this is largely framed in terms of consumer perceptions of water services. There was no public consultations on important issues such as corporate takeovers. Transparency is also compromised by complex corporate structures partly held in offshore jurisdictions. In some cases, numerous holding companies sit between the regulated licensed water utility and the ultimate parent company. We cannot tell what funds are flowing where, for what purpose, and who is benefiting. And this is an Australian company as well. The asset stripping is taking money out of the UK. So all of the fucking, civic nationalists watching this, all these protectionists, you do not want this. You want to have the socialist position on this by nationalising and bringing it under public control, because the money is being taken out of our economy and pumped over to fucking Australia, right? If there's one thing what I will happily agree with nationalists over, is that huge multinational corporations based overseas coming here and taking money out of our economy, that is just bad. It's bad for everyone in the country. It just needs to stop. I will happily agree with you on that. As long as if you can agree on the problem, we can agree on the solution, 100% fine. I will agree with people on these issues, on protectionists. I honestly, it beggars belief that this is the position that we're in. So next time somebody comes along to you and says these industries do not work as private interests, and we've seen it because there's only 2 countries in the fucking world that do it, right? And then they explain to you why it won't work, because of the way in which the market is inelastic and because of the issue with natural monopolization. We explain to you this thing. Don't not vote for them and then say, "Oh, we can't do that. It's just crazy socialist nonsense," right? And don't wait until the horse is bolted and we're literally swimming in actual shit to say, "Oh, maybe this person was right. Maybe we should nationalise it. Maybe you should have taken the chance when we were trying to tell you the externalities of the systems that you didn't think there was anything wrong with until everything breaks down." Just like I was talking about previously with regards to issues with regards to inflation, and what I will get to in future with regards to rail and energy and mail nationalisation. But on the subject of water, it is very, very clear. Corbyn was 100% correct. And if you enjoyed this segment, you can like, comment, and subscribe. If you click the bell, it'll notify you when I go live. And if you go and follow all these socials, you can see me rant on the internet as well. If you want to give me money, you can give it to on Patreon or by subscribing on Twitch. Links are in the description. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the next one.